Once upon a time, not long ago, when people walked drums and lived like snow, with laws were stern and justice stood, and people were behaving like they ought.
Welcome to the Seaview Crab Company virtual world where we got some great fish notes coming after you. Here we go. Alright, so guys, coming up on July. July is the busiest month in the seafood world, at least in our seafood world, and the next 2 weeks are the apex. The next 2 weeks are going to be like weekend days every day for the most part. It's the 4th of July weekend, and people sandwich vacations in between both of these, the holiday. The weather this weekend, though, we're focused on this weekend, is be hot. There's thunderstorms. We highlighted clams, Canadian salmon, and crab meat in the email. We have lots of point of sale changes, which I'll get to in a little bit. And the special is not really a special at all, but it's 100 clams for 27. Okay, moving on. We've got crustacean notes. Live crabs are slowing down, but Sam's been catching a steady amount, and hopefully we're going to pick up as the 4th of July weekend comes along. We're going to start grading out number 2s, at least for the month of July. We're going to try to always do it because our Jimmy demand goes up, and we're limited. So see the point of sale for the $4.50 a pound for number 2s. We have half bushel and bushel price. We also have a line on getting them shipped in Wednesdays and Saturdays. So if you get bigger orders and you want to see if it's available, talk to Sean or to myself or to Zach or Kenny, and we should be able to hopefully make that happen. Live lobsters this week, same status quo. We got 2 bags of crawfish this week. I need to get the crawfish orders in early this week too, everybody, because it's going to be tight, and I have to get them flown in for next weekend. So I need to have it by really Sunday night, but Monday morning at the latest. No soft crabs available this week. Shellfish notes pretty much the same status quo on clams, oysters, and mussels. Shrimp. Okay, so NC shrimp's finally picking up. Brown shrimp season has started. Our shrimp will be growing. The brown shrimp are in the Pamlico Sound right now, and even points down Cape Fear River. They're all around North Carolina, and they grow a little bit each week. So this week we got 31, 35 heads in some areas and 50, 60 heads in another, and we have some 60 count tails. But by the end of August, those will be legit jumbos, and that's just the cycle of these summer brown shrimp. So when people are looking for bigger fresh heads on, it's like wait a few weeks, they'll be here. But in the meantime, we ordered 1,200 pounds of freezer boat jumbo heads on 1015s coming from Florida next week. So they'll be on the counter hopefully by next weekend. The plan for this weekend is to run 1620 Gulf jumbos for $16 at both stores, 2630 farm tails at $12 at both stores, fresh 60 count tails $8 at both stores, and then we've got a 50-60 NC heads on both stores for $6 a pound, 31-35 NC heads for $7 a pound. And then Marsteller only is going to run a farm 30-40 count farm race head on for $10 a pound. Moving on to fish notes. Grouper boats are coming in hopefully tomorrow, and we're going to get a re-up on pinks, gray snappers, grouper, and whatever else is available. We have coming in from the Outer Banks tomorrow. Amberjack, some flounder, and tuna. And then we have a good amount of mahi, swordfish, and grouper in the house now. But, yeah, we're going to be getting stuff in as the weekend progresses. All the prices have changed, and Nathan's working them on at the beach. I've got Zach working them on at Midtown, but we're trying to get away from 99 cents. We're trying to go to even dollars and 50 cents just to kind of clean up the way we price our goods. All right. Moving on, so here's some POS fish changes. I'm going to send out a separate video after I send this one to give you instructions right on the screen on what I'm talking about here, so everyone's on the same page on how to switch over. We're making these changes so that we can get a better inventorying system from the back end to the front end. And so in terms of fish, the main change we're going to have is there's no longer going to be fillet fish, whole fish, dressed fish, trim fish. It's going to be one fish. You're going to choose grouper, and as an example, and then when you choose grouper, you have to adjust your unit. So are you going to sell it whole? Are you selling it fillet? Are you selling it trim or dressed? Depending on how the customer buys it. We're going to always default to the typical way we sell it. So in the case of grouper, it'd be fillet, but you have to remember that if they buy whole grouper, you know, to change that unit to whole. And the way this works in the back end is going to tick away. If we sell grouper strips, it's going to take a percentage away from the whole. If we sell fillet, it's going to take a percentage away from the whole, always deducting from the whole weight, so we can more accurately buy and keep an inventory of what we have in-house. The only thing that's going to be different for that is for things that we actually get in as fillet, which would be Chilean salmon, catfish fillet, and catfish nuggets. In that case, when you go to the point of sale, you'll just put in catfish nuggets, catfish fillet. You'll see it. It's the biggest thing is you want to make sure that your units and weights are correct, and always read the order back to the customer to double check yourself. But if you have any questions, let us know. But I know this is going to be a good change. It may be a little bit awkward at first, but as we get into it, I think it's going to make things faster and quicker. All right, changes for the shrimp. We're no longer going to have a whole bunch of 99s. Let me get out of this view real quick. It's still kind of hard to see. Anyway, we're gonna get away from the having a bunch of 99s for heads, tails, and scratch indents. Well, we're gonna have 7 items per each store. So Marsteller's gonna have a set. CB's gonna have a set of 8, and our roadside stands are gonna have a set of 8. And there's gonna be 3 heads on, 3 tails, 1 peeled, and 1 scratch and dent. And they're gonna they're gonna stay that same item. We're gonna change the prices, change the grades for what those items stand for, but they're always going to be a jumbo heads on, a large heads on, and a medium heads on. Whether we're using, you know, a farm raised 8100 or a fresh local bait shrimp, that item is going to stay the same, but the tags and the counts have to be changed on the customer end, and we can change the prices via the point of sale. It's just going to help us keep track without having to do a bunch of tag change outs what's going on our shrimp counter. Anyway, you know, we'll work out the kinks as we go, but the tags themselves are never going to change. For the items themselves are never going to change. We're just going to have to be on top of changing our prices as needed and changing the customer tags as needed. Lastly, in terms of shrimp, the only other thing that would be different about shrimp, and this mostly applies to wholesale or back-end accounting, but if you sell shrimp in its frozen state, so if you sell a 4-pound box or a 5-pound box or a 50-pound box of a frozen shrimp, they're not from the counter, they're out of the freezer, they have to be rung up as the frozen equivalent. So if you sold someone once 4 pounds, a 4-pound block of 8,100 kilo farm-raised shrimp, you're going to sell them a 4-pound box, and it's got to come out not off the counter, but out of our frozen inventory. And that's a whole back end thing. You just got to take your time and find the proper thing that you're deducting from. Okay, lastly, a few bullet point notes for the store. So the new schedule is in effect. One thing we had a problem with this week, and we need to make sure this does not happen again. If you need to switch out a shift, this should be a limited occurrence. If we see people switching out shifts, we're just going to cut their shifts out, because you know, we got to have consistency and teamwork. But if you need to change out a shift, you must have it signed out off on, and Sean or Zach must be aware that it's happened. If you don't have someone to physically sign up for your shift and Sean or Zach doesn't know about it, then if you don't show and no one's there when you're supposed to be there, you're going to be held accountable for not being there. The next thing is day captain. CV has a day captain 7 days a week, and Brian is the day captain Saturday through Tuesday. Wynn is the day captain Wednesday and Thursday, and Cameron is on Friday. The job of the day captain is basically a floor captain to keep our team positive, our teamwork strategic, and synchronized according to our roles, and then also to make sure rules are followed and side work is complete. So this is a floor captain, y'all, and they're going to be helping keep the teamwork. They've been working. They're seasoned veterans of Seaview Crab Company, and they're going to help keep point guards and forwards working together and making sure that we stay efficient and effective at the daily work. So help us make our days more fluid and synchronized. Lastly, as I said last week, roll towels are required. We will give you 2. If you need more, Walmart sells them cheap. Keep them attached to your shorts in some way when you're working. Last but not least, I'm going to send you off with a good quote and a little bit more Slick Rick. If y'all have never heard of Slick Rick, he's a great rapper from the 80s, probably before half of y'all were even born. But he's pretty awesome, and look him up. He's pretty good rapper.
Like he had a disease, he robbed another and another, and a sister and a brother. Tried to rob a man who was a GT undercover. The cop grabbed his arm, he started acting he said, true boy, loaded, he said. Punched him in his belly.